Hey, good morning, Justice Seekers. It is, Tuesday, October 4th at about 10:37. So I do like to timestamp my videos when I remember to and when I get the date right. It's also really cold here in Ohio, so my computer's not even working that well outside because, you have to have the warm fingertips on there. So thank you for all your warm, welcoming feedback and comments. And I just thought it was really cute how many people said, don't worry about your ums. So I'm going to try not to. So, there's so many things in this case. I love it when Ryan Upchurch said, my head hurts, my brain hurts. This true crime hurts my brain. It really does. When you are wanting justice and trying to help seek justice, and you're just getting gaslit every which way. The news media, the people that obviously have something to hide, people on the internet. Let me point out a couple of things about being gaslit, okay? First of all, it's a movie called Gaslight from 1944. It stars Ingrid Bergman, am I saying her name right? Bergman? And Angela Lansbury, and it's extremely, extremely well done. It brought the term gaslighting into being. And it is focused on a husband who is trying to make his wife think that they're crazy. How many husbands have tried to make their wives think that they're crazy? If for those that don't know, my master's degree is in psychology, and the entire premise of psychology, psychotherapy, counseling is based on women being hysterical, women being emotional, out of control. The root of that word, hysteria, goes back to your hysterectomy. It literally means wandering uterus. So back in the old days, and still some people think like this, if a woman is not pregnant or rearing children, she's a wandering uterus. She needs to get pregnant to keep herself grounded. Come on, right? Get with the program. So a brief history about that. There are a couple of newer terms that have been flying around our culture, which is disinformation versus misinformation. So when we're misinformed, we just have the wrong information. And that happens. Disinformation is when people are intentionally putting out the wrong information to try to confuse you, to try to gaslight you. I think in our current culture, I can speak for myself as a woman, this pretty much happens every day by someone. So, you just have to trust yourself, trust your instinct, keep an open mind, but really trust your gut. That brings me to one of my favorite books that I like to recommend for anybody that is interested in life and living. It's called The Gift of Fear, and it's by Gavin de Becker. And it is the most helpful book I've ever read in my life. I've read it more than once. I honestly think that book has saved my life. I think it'll save anybody's life. It teaches you how to pay attention to your instincts and to not dismiss them as intuition, feminine intuition. It's information. Your brain is taking in thousands of pieces of information every second. What was that book that was basically a rehash of Gavin de Becker's book? It was called Blink. It was probably came out in the early 2000s. And I'm not kidding you. That guy read Gavin de Becker's book and then rewrote it and called it Blink. It was complete plagiarism. And he got very rich and famous off that book. So maybe you've heard of one of those or either of those. Blink isn't a bad book. I picked it up and read it because it was all the rage and because it seemed a lot like the Gavin de Becker book that I like so much. Anyway, I'm going to skip ahead. I've been doing some research, some internet sleuthing. So when I present information in my videos, it's always my opinion only. I promise you I will never, ever, ever spread disinformation. Misinformation, I hope I don't, and I am always careful. However, again, we got to keep an open mind. We don't know everything, right? So I do a lot of internet sleuthing. I don't call it falling down a rabbit hole. I call it internet sleuthing, and it can be fun. It can be redundant. You can get to the same information a bunch of times, and sometimes you just hit something that you had no idea was there, and it might not even be related to what you're digging for. It's fascinating. A lot of people do it. The whole internet sleuthing is a thing. It's fun. It's exciting to come across new information and to think for yourself. So everything that I say is my opinion only. Take it in stride, take it or leave it. It's for discussion, entertainment, and hopefully education. Excuse me. So, looking at Miss Kylie Rodney's situation and her background and the people around her, when you're doing an investigation, a death investigation, of course, everything that happened right up until that person deceased is your most relevant information. Also, the backstory, the family story, work, relationships, all that stuff. So, Kylie is the only daughter of Lindsay and, what's his name? Daniel Rodney. So, she has a younger brother. We don't need to go into that. That brother is from Lindsay's marriage to Anthony S. Neiman, who is allegedly 40 or 41 and allegedly has a checkered past. I've mentioned that. And David Rodney, Lindsay's father, built the lodge about 7 years before Kylie was born. I've mentioned several times he owned a public water company in the Tahoe area for about 30 years. And then he got sick of it. He wanted to do something where he felt like it was more community oriented. And he moved to Montana, ran a bed and breakfast there, and then bought the couple of acres that they call the Lost Trail Lodge. And Kylie was about 7 when they moved in, and I think it was, already that her mother had gotten together with this Tony Neiman. And I've brought up the snow before because, like I've said, I've skied there and it's just phenomenal. Like, it compares to skiing nowhere else. Once you've skied in that kind of snow, you just can't accept any other snow. And I'm not like a big ski buff, but I've had the good fortune of skiing there. So it can be like 20 feet of solid snow. I was looking on the internet yesterday and taking screenshots to try to describe to people who haven't seen it, where the snow is a wall next to you or next to your vehicle that's 20 feet tall, and it's just cut straight through for the road or for the path to where you need to get to. And avalanches are a huge concern. They're a very real concern. And my point in bringing this up is that our lovely little Miss Kylie Rodney, who was raised way down a dirt road that in the wintertime you allegedly could not get to except by snowshoe or cross-country skis and snowmobile. But mind you, snowmobiles and helicopters will cause avalanches. You've got to be so careful. So she had her own snowmobile, and she grew up where winters were typically 10 and 20 feet of snow at a time. I mean, not all that snowfall at a time, but you get a few feet that accumulates on top of a few feet, on top of a few feet, on top of a few feet. And then, of course, the powder snow is what brings everybody. As it's getting compacted, it's just ice. And it's really cold there. My goodness, I did not realize that Truckee is like one of the coldest places in our country in the winter. Again, even having been there, I didn't know that. It's also one of the sunniest places in the country. So I know one of the very last times I skied there, it was Easter, so it was April, and people were skiing in their bikinis and getting tan, literally. It was probably 72 degrees, but the snow hadn't melted yet. And, I kept my ski wear on, but some people love to get tan, right? Especially California, I'm telling you. California can be considered a crazy place. A lot of people from there think there's no other place in the world. And it's just a whole different culture. If you're not familiar with it, I don't know how you would get familiar with it other than living there, which it's got a lot to offer. It's lovely, absolutely lovely, but like I've said before, it's ridiculously expensive and ridiculously crowded. I loved living on the beach in Southern California. I loved San Francisco. Like, my goodness, you cannot not leave your heart in San Francisco. These places are so crowded. And I like open space. I like my seclusion. So I can really relate to the Rodneys with their, the lodge out there. During this whole COVID thing, I thrived with the stay at home and social distancing and all of that. I got way into gardening and landscaping and hardscaping. It was yoga and exercise and meditation all day, every day. And I just loved it. So I can really relate to this whole lifestyle that they had. At the same time, I think it's important to keep in mind a town like Truckee, where it's a tight-knit community. You've got a ton of strangers there in the wintertime skiing, and you've got very few of the same characters that stay year-round, that live there. And those people become tight-knit. There's a lot to be said for small towns, and there's a lot of crap that goes along with a small town. So it seems to me that Kylie's family was kind of shunned because they lived so far off the beaten path. And I'm telling you, so far off the beaten path. Really, really far. On a really bad road. With rocks and gravel and snow and ice and water and that skinny little bridge with the train tracks that go over it. I don't think there's even any trains that go there anymore. For a long time, that was a turnaround. I've heard that at least one of the two train track turnarounds right there by Donner Pass or on Donner Pass, at least one of them is owned by either Sheriff Wu or his brother or something like that, allegedly. So, again, this is information that I pick up as I'm sleuthing, and I, of course, get information from other people's videos, and I always try to cite those other people because if they did the digging and the hard work, I want to give them credit for sure. But the beauty of this whole web sleuthing, YouTube, armchair detective thing is that we are crowdsourcing. We are putting our minds together, coming up with different ideas, bouncing off of each other. I'm telling you, your comments are amazing. And when they're rude, I will just delete them because nobody has time for that. If you're trying to give me constructive criticism, I'll take it, okay? But if you're just being a jerk, I don't need you around, okay? Just being straight up. Because people these days, I call you guys keyboard warriors. And how many keyboard warriors are drinking, okay? Like, you don't drunk text, you don't do Facebook drunk. You just, honestly, nothing against people that like to relax and drink or whatever. I used to be one of those. I have been so much happier and healthier. It's been over 30 years of recovery that I am so grateful for, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, but if I can be an inspiration for folks to live a cleaner life, be healthier, and just taking good care of yourself, taking good care of your family, taking good care of people around you, I will feel like I'm a huge success if I can help inspire people to do that. So that's why at the end of my videos, I'm always running down my little thing, my spiel. And I do that every day with myself. I do that every day with my children. I do that every day with anybody that wants some hot tips. Grandma knew fruits and veggies, especially the veggies. Most of us don't get enough. And personally, I do smoothies every day so that I get a ton of fruits and vegetables. I say every day. Sometimes I will literally forget for months. So I'm kind of like all or nothing. So I have to stick with a routine. So back to my routine of these notes. Our 22 cents. If you guys have not checked that guy out, check him out. He is kicking butt. He is doing some amazing work. So he has all these amazing technical skills, and he's looking at, in his most recent video from this morning, he's looking at the GPS tracking to show exactly where the searchers covered in the Kylie Rodney search. So he can hit all these buttons and get it down to just one person who searched, because everybody checks in and registers, and then they have their cell phone on them, so they can follow the paths of each person. So he nails it down following, you ready? Following Check It TV on August 18th. I'm not gonna like get into quoting our 22 cents. I'm just gonna send you there, and please subscribe and like. He's a small channel like me. He's a little bit bigger than me, and man, he is doing some serious digging. And I respect that. A lot of people had told me about him, and I had come across him, but there's so much out there. It's like, what do you focus on? I try to focus on Zav Girl, and my God, she had another 8.5 hour thing last night. And she finally got her thing up from 3 or 4 days ago. It took that long to upload. I don't know what happened, but I can guess, but I won't. She got one put up that was 3 or 4 hours long. That was from, I think, Friday night. So I still need to watch that. I think I might have seen a part of it. I saw a lot of parts of the 8.5 hour one. I try to keep those on while I'm going about my business and doing everything that I need to do. And fortunately, I have a situation where in my job I can do that. A lot like Captain Kurt Reacts. He's a welder. I'm not a welder. I wish. Welding is way cool. But I love my job. I feel very happy, very, very lucky. And it's fascinating to pay attention to all of the Zav Girl, hours and hours and hours, because she gets so much information sent to her, emailed to her, in the chat. Like I was catching all kinds of cool stuff in the chat, and I'm tagging people and they're tagging me. And then I think when you watch it not live, I think that chat like disappears. I don't know. I'm not that good with all this stuff. But of course you still have the comments. Anyway, it's just fascinating. Zav Girl, I think, has been at this for about 4 years, and she is rocking it. I'm just going to leave it there. I've given shout outs to so many that I like a whole lot. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before, hitting home how much I love and appreciate Paula Plunder and Kelly from What's the Obsession. Kelly's been doing some videos on Kylie Rodney, and they are very concise and to the point. So if that's what you're looking for, I recommend that. Paula's are also concise. They're probably on average 30 minutes, and she has a gazillion subscribers, more than anybody I've seen. I think I've been a subscriber to her since she was not much bigger than mine is right now. So, I just am thrilled to become a part of this community. And the other folks I like to mention, Lakeside Living, I think that's what he calls himself. He is hilarious. He's kind of like Ryan Upchurch to me. He's a musician, he's a comedian, and he is into true crime. So he is extremely interesting and makes some super sharp points. And he's goofy, really, really goofy. And I like goofy. So that abduction theory, what do you guys think about that? And I don't want to be doing so what do you think about that? Because you watch the people that you watch because you want to know what we're thinking. I have thought all along that an abduction was a very likely scenario with the given parameters of the situation. And I've kept an open mind. Sure, could have been a car accident, could have been this, could have been that, alien abduction, anything. You just never know. I think, honestly, I said this yesterday and I've said it recently before, that the option of this being a single vehicle accident of Kylie or somebody else driving, I don't even think that's an option. Almost, because of all the gaslighting, it almost could be an option, but in my opinion, it's totally off the table. We've got the search that went on for 15 days right there with, I think, 60 professionals, quote unquote professionals, almost 20,000 hours of manpower, and I've heard 18, and I've heard other numbers of the different entities, like the Nevada County Police, the Placer County Sheriff, Nevada County Sheriff, California State Highway Patrol, Truckee Police Department, FBI, AWP, a whole bunch of others, right? But we all know that AWP did not come into the picture until the local law enforcement wrapped up their case and said that we're going to scale back on this search. We're going to start doing more investigating. And that was, I think, on a Friday. And then Saturday, AWP was in town. They went out to Boca. They cleared Boca. They cleared Donner, and that's a big lake. And they cleared, I think, Stampede. And then they went back to Prosser. I called it Placer yesterday because those two words are so similar. They went to Prosser Creek Reserve, technically Boca and Prosser, and I believe Stampede as well. Those are all man-made lakes that were dug to hold water to fill up Lake Tahoe when it empties. So remember, Kylie Rodney's granddad, David Rodney, knows a lot about water in this area. He owned a public water company for 30 years, to my understanding. I've seen that several times from all super reliable resources. I haven't seen anything to contradict it. So, and that's all just the internet sleuthing stuff, public information. I do public information requests on occasion, especially if you're going to, say, write an article for a newspaper. You have to have the public record information in your back pocket to prove that you came across this information legitimately, that it wasn't leaked to you from an inside source that is not allowed to leak. Brings me to another point. When it's public information, how can you possibly leak public information, right? Think about that. Law enforcement takes so much advantage of the position of power that they have with being privy to laws and information that most people are not privy to. They take full advantage of that. That's why it's so important for us to know our laws and to know the information that's out there. We are in the information age. So I just have a couple other things I think I wanted to touch on today. And I've got 2 notebooks here. That might be it. It sounds like, this was one interesting thing, it sounds like Kylie's date of death has been written down as August 21st, which is fascinating to me. That was the day that she was discovered, and there is no indication of how long she had been deceased for that I have seen or heard anywhere. We do not have the information. I started to go into this and didn't, so I want to go back to it. We don't know if her car went in the water that night with her in it, right? On August 5th, August 6th. We don't know. We don't know if her car was put there. So with the law enforcement being out there searching and searching and searching and finding nothing, and then AWP coming in, literally turning on their equipment and finding it, they saved 35 minutes. It was kind of 35 minutes from the second they drove up until they said, hey, we got something here. I mean, they put their boats out there, they turned on their equipment, and they were like, what's this, right? I mean, we've all seen it. They're trying to be nice by saying, oh, it took us 35 minutes, and it was our second day, not our first. And like the grandfather and the dad, their first gut response was, how the fuck did that happen? And I'm not going to apologize for swearing in a situation like that, because you kind of need to. As a professional psychotherapist, it's very therapeutic, right? So law enforcement has two choices. They can say, we are complete numbskulls and don't know how to search 14 feet of water 300 yards from a party and 55 feet from where the water touches the land. We're that stupid. They could take that route if they want, and they're probably going to have to, in my opinion, because their only other option is, yeah, we knew it was there, or it just got put in, right? Oh, so they do have two other options. See, it's good to do these, and I figure stuff out too. So they can say, okay, it was there for the entire 2 weeks, and we're just so stupid, we kept tripping over it, but we didn't know what we were tripping over. Or it got put in there, and it very well could have been put in there the day before, or even, in the middle of the night before it was discovered by Adventures with Purpose. And if you haven't signed the petition yet for Adventures with Purpose to get the $75,000 reward money, I feel very strongly about signing that petition. I believe Paula Plunder has a link to it on her video from Friday where she mentions it. It's the video that says like FBI and the petition and has a big arrow. So she knows how to make her thumbnails so that they really draw your attention. So to wrap up for today, thank you for listening. My thought is, someone in my comments yesterday said this, and it's absolutely true. We need the U.S. Marshals to come in and straighten out corrupt law enforcement, in my opinion, in my conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. And that I totally plagiarized from Rich Lux. That man is hilarious. If you don't know Rich Lux, look him up. He does all this makeup, and he has his purse, and he pulls out his receipts to show you, and he's just so funny. I really like him. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this channel, and you really are a part of it. You're making it grow. I will continue to do my part and try to put out a video every morning, Monday through Friday, and then sometimes on the weekends as well. So thank you. Be well. Take care of yourself. Get your rest, your relaxation. Be productive. Love the people around you. Love what you do. And eat well and drink your water. It's hard to remember, isn't it? And my finger is not warm enough to oh my goodness, there we go. I gotta press really hard. This is too funny. Maybe I just need to close the screen, but it proves my point of how freaking chilly it is out here. I'm not that cold because I got these little mitten things on, but I'm just gonna close it. So bye, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again.